The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM Software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users on demand on iTunes and on YouTube. And on my site, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you are encouraged to post your comments, whether you agree with yours truly or not. I promise you no retribution. And thanks to our good friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio, we are syndicated into 12 million additional households. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten. Welcome to the show. I'd like to introduce you to my right, your left, Bob Ficano. Robert Ficano is the county executive in Wayne County, Michigan. That's southeastern Michigan. Encompasses Detroit and how many other...
42 other communities, Gary.
42 other communities.
How quickly we forget.
Well, I don't remember the exact number. I could probably tell you how long Heinz Drive is. So.
17 miles.
17 miles. 17 point something miles, right?
Yeah.
You know, the entire nation is suffering an economic downturn, but this is, as we've been saying during this road trip, as we've been gauging the pulse of the voting community, this is the epicenter of it all. Yesterday, I told my audience, Bob, I was driving on Tireman on the west side of Detroit. I saw 5 houses in a row boarded up. I went to talk to the lady who lives next door to these houses, and she said when she moved into that community 4 years ago, it was a vibrant community. She says, look across the street, there are 3 more people lost their homes to foreclosure. The kids have to walk past these abandoned buildings. Certainly from your standpoint, one of the things that you have been very good at is spurring economic development here in Wayne County, both at, around the airport. You've been involved in trade with China. You've done a number of trade missions. You're about ready to go on another one, I believe, the day after the election.
2 or 3 days.
2 or 3 days after the election. And any one of these houses, of course, represents a personal tragedy. But for government, it means they're no longer on the tax rolls. How do you even survive in this kind of an environment?
Well, you know, Gary, this has been difficult because Michigan's been struggling with this probably the past 5 years. The rest of the nation now is starting to catch up, and it's even worse with the with what we've seen in the banks and how the banks aren't even lending to one another, and liquidity isn't really accessible, and not only to consumers but among the banks. And what we're trying to do is, yeah, it's a difficult situation, but the auto industry has been particularly hurt by this.
And it's going to get worse.
Yeah, if there's the merger, whatever is going to happen. In the past decades, they've shut about 400,000 jobs. But you know what, Gary? If you think back, and I think you were here during the 1980s, the most popular bumper sticker at that time was the last one out of Michigan, turn out the lights.
Right.
Everybody was going to go down to Texas. Everybody was going to find their fortune down there. And you know what? This region has bounced back. And we're still, when this all clears, we're still going to make more cars here than they are anyplace else in the United States. We're still going to have more engineers here in southeastern Michigan than they are anyplace else in the United States. And I can tell you what, when I travel on these trade missions, I've been to 2 to the Middle East, 3 to China with the 4th one coming up. They know 3 cities. They know Los Angeles because of Hollywood. They know New York because of the financial institutions, although we don't know how much that's faring out. The 3rd one they always know is the city of Detroit because they put the world on wheels for 100 years. Now, everybody's trying to mimic us and copy us, and it's global competition that's happening. But we still, and sometimes we're tougher on ourselves in here in this area than even the rest of the world. We have tremendous assets when you look at it. Number one, we sit on an international border. Companies that come here and they look at locating here, because of the auto industry, we have a mature highway system, railroad system. We're trying to develop what is known as an aerotropolis, and I'll get into that with the airport as an economic engine. But our university system, when I go to Beijing, they talk about one great university there with Beijing and things like that. You look at what we have here, University of Michigan, Wayne State, which is big R&D facilities, Michigan State University. Michigan State alone has 19 alternative fuel patents that are used all over the world. We haven't done a great job in having the entrepreneurs be able to extend themselves and to make money off of it, but the tax dollars are developing it, and we got to capture that. We have the airport. Today it is speed, speed, and speed. The old mantra used to be location, location, location. Today it's speed, speed, and speed. And so what we've tried to do is to set up what we is going to be the gold bar about how things are met. Now people say, what is Aerotropolis? What does it mean? It means turning the airport into an economic engine. They do this all around the world. They don't look at it from that paradigm here in the United States. Most people, when you say airports, they think of passenger facilities, moving people around. You go to Europe, if you look at Frankfurt, look at Schiphol in Amsterdam, there are 60,000 jobs
surrounding the airport.
Just connected, they call it inside the fence of the airport. It's not even the multiplier that's there. And we can do that. We're blessed because we have a lot of open land around the airport. Compared if next time you fly out of LAX or even O'Hare or Kennedy or LaGuardia in New York.
Well, there's no land around LaGuardia.
Exactly.
Very little around Newark.
That's right. And so when you look at all that, we can develop that. And we just didn't do this pie in the sky. There's a guru, Dr. Casarda, that's out of North Carolina, and he works with Duke. They looked at this, and he looks at it all over the world. He says we're primed for this to take off. And for the low-hanging fruit is like logistics and things like that. But we wanted it to be the gold standard. And by that I mean we're not competing against O'Hare, against Chicago, New York, or L.A. We're competing against the rest of the world because today capital's more mobile than it's ever been. In the history of the world. So what I look at is what is the standard we got to meet? Well, you go to Dubai today, if you say I want to locate around an airport, in 30 days they build you a warehouse and they give you all your permits.
30 days.
In 30 days. And so our challenge is, now if you look at a map in where Wayne County, what we want to do is with the Aerotropolis, we're on the airport, it's mostly on the western part of the county, and the primary freeway that runs through here, or through that area, is I-94. It runs by Ann Arbor, which is in Washtenaw County, runs all the way down Western Wayne, goes by the airport, goes by Dearborn